الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون ولا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم أولئك هم الفاسقون لا يستوي أصحاب النار وأصحاب الجنة أصحاب الجنة هم الفائزون. I seek refuge in Allah from the cursed shaitan. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. O believers, fear Allah and let every soul look to what deeds it has sent for tomorrow. And fear Allah, surely Allah is all aware of what you do. And do not be like those who forgot Allah, so He made them forget themselves. It is they who are truly rebellious. The residents of the fire cannot be equal to the residents of paradise. Only the residents of paradise will be successful. Sadaqallahul Azim.
Thank you, Dr. Saba. So we're joined today, I'll introduce one of our chairs, Dr. Athar Ahmed Say. He's a very active member of KEMCA-UK, a graduate of KEMU from 86, FRCP gastroenterology from UK, consultant gastroenterology at Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Gates NHS Foundation Trust UK. And he takes special interest in viral hepatitis, hepatobiliary diseases, therapeutic endoscopies, and improving patient access through telemedicine. We're also joined today, Chair, the CEO, Mayo Hospital, Professor Haroon Hamid. He's also a Chemcolian, class of 95, did FCPS, MRCP from UK, FRCP from UK, Neonatal Fellowship, RCP, CH from UK, and MME from UL. He's also Dean of Public Health and Preventive Medicine here at KEMU, Chairperson Department of Pediatrics at King Elizabeth, and he's also previously served as Principal Khwaja Safdar Medical College at Sialkot. So thank you very much for being here. And I would request our first presenter to join us, and if we could begin our session with the first presentation. And Mr. Rafi Alam, he's an environmental lawyer, climate activist, senior advisor to Air Quality Asia. He specializes in the energy, water, natural resources, and urban infrastructure sectors, vast experience in climate and environmental law and policy, and regularly advises local and international clients on climate, water, environment, sustainability, climate change, energy efficiency, and air quality issues. He also teaches climate law and policy at LUMS, Yale World Fellow and member of Hisar Foundation think tank on the rational use of water. I'd like to welcome you.
And especially at King Edward, where this air pollution topic, I think, is close to everyone's hearts, no pun intended. My presentation today is deliberately provocative. I wrote my first op-ed concerning air pollution and smog in 2016, one of many. I've been on television shouting and screaming about air pollution for years. Every winter, as a matter of fact, there are dozens of interviews I give. I've been part of a full documentary on air pollution and air pollution activists in Lahore. That was years ago. I'm helping friends make another documentary on air pollution in Lahore again. I've helped organize protests on air pollution, strikes. I've been to court on air pollution and how it violates our fundamental right to life. I've addressed the National Assembly and Senate standing committees on climate change and as well as human rights on the impacts of air pollution. And I think I've learned a couple of things. I'm slightly frustrated actually, but I'm also enthusiastic and I hope to be able to show you why. First lesson, it's not Lahore smog season. It's none of those things. Smog is a particular type of air pollution. You have to have smoke and fog. It's a portmanteau of the two words. Most of the time we have haze and bad air pollution. Sometimes we have smog. It's not seasonal either. Let me show you that this is actually a regional, year-long public health emergency and it needs to be addressed that way. If you target it, if you think of this as a Lahore problem and as a seasonal problem, your policy initiatives are going to fail. Last year, in late October, November, when through certain meteorological conditions, we had unprecedented amounts of air pollution. We're talking AQI in excess of 1,500 in Multan. Doesn't make sense, right? When if you looked at a satellite picture of the region, you could see a cloud all over North India. And the Environment Protection Agency issued a notification calling it a green clampdown around Simla Pahari, that the 5 and 6 roads emanating from that roundabout would have certain prohibitions. You wouldn't be allowed to run a diesel generator and you couldn't cook tikkas and kebabs on coal. If that's your policy initiative, you're going to fail because it's a regional problem. Trying to do something around Simla Pahari is shaking your fist at the sky. You have to diagnose this correctly in order to address it correctly. Our topography, incidentally, has a little bit to play in the air pollution problem, right? As you know, the Indian continent came and collided with Asia millions of years ago and created the Tibetan Plateau, this mountain or wall of mountain through which clouds can't penetrate, actually until this year. And so what happens when the air pollution comes, as you can see, it sort of traps itself between the Deccan Plateau and the mountain ranges. It has nowhere to go. And when you look at this picture, you realize that this is not a Lahore problem. This is a regional problem. It's a Kabul to Calcutta problem. And you have to look at it that way because trying to fix it from Lahore isn't going to work. You have to fix it everywhere all at once. Let me refer to some of the law. We have air quality standards for ambient air, for the quality of the outside air, notified by the Environment Protection Agency. There are 9 different pollutants that are scanned for, and there's a limit given on the type of on the amount of pollution for each one of those pollutants. And on the right-hand column, incidentally, there is the method of measurement. So there's a prescribed way of looking at these particular pollutants as well. I'm going to focus in on something called particulate matter 2.5, as you know, very small pieces of dust, which can be inhaled, and not just that, they pass through your lungs and into your bloodstream and are extremely carcinogenic. The annual average for PM 2.5 and the 24-hour average for PM 2.5 prescribed by the law is no more than 15 micrograms per cubic meter and 35 micrograms per cubic meter. In 2018, I was doing a project with the Environment Protection Agency, a capacity enhancement project, actually. And I got my hands on the air pollution data from the EPA's monitor here on Jail Road. At the time, one of the very few that was functioning in the province. So Zamani mein, there were 3 or 4 monitors, 1 or 2 in Lahore. Not enough for Lahore, let alone Punjab. And I'm going to show you the PM 2.5 readings from November 2017 to November 2018. The blue is PM 2.5. The horizontal orange is the 15 micrograms annual average prescribed by law. And so you can see the PM 2.5 levels were off the charts throughout the year. Whether it's winter or summer, it doesn't matter. You can't see air pollution. Yes, the pollution becomes a little bit more visible in the winter, but it's a year-long problem. If you think of it as a seasonal problem, you're going to misdiagnose the solution. The Pakistan Air Quality Initiative has done some fantastic work. It's recently published a report about the air pollution in Peshawar, Lahore, and Karachi and Islamabad, and can give you a picture of what the PM 2.5 levels have been every single month for years. None of these monthly averages are within the scope of law. We're 5-6 times what the law prescribes. The other thing is, we really don't know how bad air pollution is for us. And that's why I'm so pleased to be speaking here at King Edward. There is almost no epidemiological study available in Pakistan on the public health impacts of air pollution. You know, and I've seen, in 2018, I was in the Lahore High Court. The Secretary Health was summoned by the Chief Justice at the time, Mansoor Ali Shah, on an air pollution case. And he was asked what the impact of air pollution was. And the figures that he had given to him of the people being admitted into hospitals that winter compared to previous winter were the same. And he said, I don't have any tangible evidence to tell me that this is a problem, because we don't have the studies. There has recently been, there's been some work. This is something from Children's Hospital in 2018, very back of the envelope. Number of children being admitted into hospital with chest-related diseases almost triples over the course of a decade. There's another work that's been done out of the Aga Khan University, and something very recently published from Peshawar University as well on the public health impacts. We also, very interestingly, recently, just a few days ago, the Pakistan Burden of Disease report was published, and you will find that air pollution is all over the place. On the right-hand box, the risk factors. After malnutrition, air pollution is the second most serious health or issue related in Pakistan. It's unavoidable, but it's not abstract either. This thing is actually killing us. This is news from the winter of 2024, January 2024. Several hundred children died in Punjab in 1 month because of pneumonia. So this is not abstract. There are children dying because of air pollution. And we don't know how bad it is because we don't have the studies to tell us. So it's not smog season, it's a year-long regional public health emergency. The second lesson I've learned in response to the many things we've done is there's a certain amount of denial and obfuscation about the problem. Flat out denial and obfuscation. Let me start by explaining. Even though I've shown you what the law prescribes as the method of measuring the quality of ambient air, the ambient air standards I just showed you, the 9 different pollutants that are scanned for, that's the law. In 2018, through an accident of court and history, the Environment Protection Agency adopted what is known as an air quality index method of measuring air pollution. And what this does is it takes those 9 different pollutants, which me as a layman, I wouldn't know what a high amount of sulfur is versus a high amount of nitrogen oxide. But when you can take all of those pollutants and convert them into a single number, it becomes easier to understand the severity of air pollution. So that's what the Air Quality Index does. And it's actually invented by, or it was founded by the United States Environment Protection Agency. So I'm just going to go off the mic here and I need to show. This is the Environment Protection Agency's website for Vaga, showing 166 AQI and showing satisfactory status based on the AQI adopted by the Environment Protection Agency, where you'll see that from 0 to 100 of AQI, it's good. For 100 to 200, it's satisfactory. And from 200 to 300, it's moderately polluted. So the breaking points on this AQI chart are every 100 AQI denominations as well. But if we go to the United States Environment Protection Agency, the guys who actually made this, along with studies that sort of link the burden on health for each increase in AQI, you will find that the breakpoints are at every 50. 0 to 50 good, 51 to 100 moderate, and when you get to 166 over here, it's unhealthy. The EPA has adjusted the breaking points on its AQI measurement so they underreport the severity of the air pollution. That's obfuscation. There have been a number of policies, believe it or not, in the 5 or 6 governments the Punjab has seen since 2017, there have been a number of policies on air pollution. Starting from the one on the left, the policy on controlling smog, 2017, which was submitted to the Lahore High Court, which was not satisfied with it, and so as a result, and on the right-hand side, this was a case before Justice Mansoor Ali Shah. Waleed Iqbal is a PTI senator. He filed a petition about the impacts of air pollution, and as a result, the Lahore High Court constituted a smog commission with all sorts of experts to come up with recommendations on how to deal with Lahore smog, incidentally. They didn't do a Punjab thing, it was Lahore smog. And the 17 recommendations of this commission were adopted by the court and sort of became the unofficial, you could say, policy on air pollution in Punjab for several years. For example, the fetish we have for zigzag brick kiln technology, which is not a technology, it's just how you burn coal differently, being adopted all over the Punjab, stems from the recommendations of this report. We also have a national clean air policy from 2023, and the same year in 2023, the caretaker government of Punjab also adopted a Punjab clean air policy. What a caretaker government is doing, adopting a policy, is a matter of debate, but nevertheless, that is the case. Now, if you look at all of these policies, they broadly say the same thing. We've got a fuel problem. We have some of the dirtiest fuel on the face of the earth, and as a result, the smoke that comes out of our cars contributes to the majority of the year-long air pollution. We've got to convert to renewable energies. We've got to stop using fossil fuels. We've got to somehow capture these industries and make them adopt pollution control devices. We've got to move to public transport and electric vehicles. We've got to clamp down on crop burning. We've got to stop municipal waste burning. We've got to do lots of things. And all of these policies broadly say the same thing. Which is why I am flabbergasted and amused. Every year, something funny happens. This is the caretaker Chief Minister of Punjab tweeting his initiative on cleaning air. Jharu maro. It's his government who adopted a policy, yaar. Do the things in your policy. And this present government also has a roadmap on air pollution, and yet has spent, God knows, billions of rupees on these mist cannons, which, are great at construction sites. But here's something. One of the pollutants that emerges when we burn diesel and petrol is sulfur oxide. SO2. And when you mix H2O, which is water, with SO2, do you know what you get? Sulfurous acid, acid rain. Own goal. Fantastic. You can see why I'm getting slightly frustrated over here. And thirdly, the Pakistan Air Quality Index, Mariam Shah is sitting here, set up private monitors in Lahore in 2017. I think I was one of the second or third people that had a monitor, and these broadcast AQI readings online, so you can go on Twitter to the Pakistan Air Quality, or you can go online and use their app and see what air pollution numbers were like. And this was the first time people in Lahore were getting a sense of what the numbers were on air pollution, and that's really where this public movement and awareness from air pollution has come from, is this information available from private monitors. The government only had a couple of monitors, and they were scarcely broadcasting that news. That's changed. The government now has dozens, I think 41 monitors now as of this year. So finally, the government of Punjab will open its eyes, so to speak, on the issue of air pollution. No. So please. And so what do we get in response? I remember a few years ago, the Environment Minister of Punjab wrote a letter to the FIA saying that these private monitors are creating disinformation about air pollution. Why? Because if you remember the law on ambient air, not only do you have limits on the type of pollutants that should be in the air, there's also a prescribed method of measurement. And the private air quality monitors use lasers, they don't use beta ray absorption, and therefore the EPA says that these numbers are unreliable. And he wrote to the FIA saying these miscreants are creating disinformation about air pollution in Pakistan, and they should be proceeded against. That's the response you get. It's denial and obfuscation. But I don't want to end there. I just want to say that this is a map from 2018. This was a report prepared by Greenpeace International for the first United Nations International Conference on Air Pollution in Geneva. And it identifies NO2. NO2 is a gas that's produced whenever you burn a fossil fuel, right? It comes out, whether it's wood or coal or petroleum. The black dots are coal-fired power plants, and the red dots are furnace oil energy plants. And you can see the region, the NO2 levels, the red is exceptionally high. I'm going to zoom in actually to North Pakistan over here. Lahore, incidentally, was number 31 on the list of cities with the intensity of NO2 pollution. And you can see Lahore at the bottom right over there, the red reflecting the amount of industry and also population in the city. But what struck me actually was this red dot over here in Pizu, in KPK. Now, why would there be a red dot? Why would there be high levels of NO2 in Pizu in KPK? Well, that's because Lucky Cement has a coal-fired power plant over there. As a matter of fact, here in Miawali, which is red, it's the, what is it? Maple Leaf Cement runs a coal-fired power plant over there. And this red between Islamabad and Peshawar, that's GT Road. That's all your diesel trucks. And Kohat is red because Kohat Cement runs a coal-fired power plant. As a matter of fact, you come over here, next to Faisabad, you've got a spinning mill that has an energy unit. You come over here to Jambal Palan, southwest of Lahore, and Mia Manshar runs a furnace plant over there. The point is not whether these private machines are accurate or not. And incidentally, they're accurate. They're accurate to 97, 98%. And anyway, once you're at 500 AQI, 600 AQI, it doesn't matter how precise you are. You know you're in the deep soup. The point is, it doesn't matter what the technology of these monitors are. Publicly available data doesn't just tell you where the pollution is. I'm giving you their names and their addresses. Now the question is not the quality of the monitors, but how are you going to desulfurize the coal-fired power plants, right? How are you going to move from fossil fuel to renewable energy, which is expensive? How are you going to improve the quality of fuel on in the trucks that we use and in the transport sector? These become the essential questions, not the quality of monitors and so on and so forth. And lastly, I'll have to remind everyone that Lahore isn't the first or only city that's been hit by air pollution. Dozens have in the past. Some have managed to overcome their air pollution issues. And you'll say to me, oh, I know, well, Paris and Stockholm and London, these are rich countries. Yeah. But do you know how they got rid of their air pollution? It wasn't because they were wealthy. It was because citizens got together and objected. They had a voice that they actually manifested through elections. I'm sure some of you have heard about the London fogs of the 1950s that were done away with magically, as if by magic, by 1955, 1956. No, there was an election. The Conservative government, Winston Churchill was unseated, a Labour government was brought in because a whole generation of people who had fought and survived World War II didn't want to die of lung and air pollution when back home. They voted for change, and that's exactly what happened in Stockholm after World War II, when the city streets of this medieval town got choked with automobiles, and children started dying on their way to school. They were being run over, and then there was air pollution. That angry mothers came out and voted for a new mayor to make city streets better again. We have to ask for clean air before we get it. And I know that this is a difficult country, but you know, if you want a road, sadak ban jati hai. If you want a hospital, hospital ban jata hai. You want a school, school ban jata hai. You've got to want air pollution. And here I'll remind all of us that air pollution was not on the agenda in the last election. It wasn't on the agenda in the 2018 election. None of your MPAs are talking about this. So the cities that have worked through air pollution have done so because they've got a civil society that has a vision of a clean air future that's more sustainable than the 5-year election cycle. Thank you.
I think it's only befitting that after the eye-opening facts and figures shared by Rafe, we have the government's perspective. And I now request our second panelist, Mr. Mohammad Ahmed Rajwana. He's from the Pakistan Administrative Services, and he's the Managing Director of Punjab Resource Management and Policy Unit. Also Program Director of Punjab Clean Air Program and Program Director from the Implementation Unit set up by the P&D Board Punjab. Welcome, sir. And
Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here in an honor. I was thinking of going through the presentation, but after Ahmed's presentation, I think I'll recalibrate and I'll talk about what is to be talked about. I'll just go with one first slide only. This is like what I was supposed to talk about. I'll just read out one slide only. Clean air is not a privilege. It's or a seasonal demand or a negotiable outcome. It is a fundamental right that underpins health, productivity, and human dignity. In Punjab, this has become the most visible expression of environmental stress, revealing deeper structural challenges in growth, mobility, industry, and agriculture. The reason I'm going to ditch this is, and I'm just going to focus on few slides, is the previous slide. As Ahmed Saab indicated that it's not just a seasonal issue, it's not just smog. So, by the way, I had Punjab Clean Air Program. It's a World Bank funded $300 million cross-sectoral program. The beauty of this program is this is not supply driven, this is demand driven. So it is the first of the program that tries to address these issues, the issues that Ahmed just pointed out, like we are working on e-mobility, we are creating a nudge, we are moving towards electric vehicles, EV adoption, we are talking about industrial emissions, we are talking about the scientific way of looking at industrial emissions. We are mapping that across Punjab. We are looking at bringing in incentives for e-mobility. We're working on how to take this transport, because you see, this is not just one thing that you'll press a button and it will happen. It's a long cyclic thing. We are trapped in a region. It is not just Lahore. It's not just us, it's the whole region. If you see the next picture, that this plane is actually, we are in this bowl, we are trapped. And when this inversion happens in terms of, in this season especially, everybody starts talking about, oh, there is smog, this is problem. The problem is year long, and it is across the region. I was in a place where I never thought it would be an issue, the transboundary emissions. In Bhutan, people were complaining that you are plaguing our environment. It is not just us, it's everyone. So it has to be a shared responsibility. And I agree with most of the things that Ahmed Saab has said, that there has to be a climate action. Well, the good news is there is. It might be a baby step, it might be a small thing that we are starting, but it is coordinated, and now it is mostly based on evidence, and it is being approached in a scientific way. We may agree to disagree of the certain things. Even I might agree with on a lot of things with what Ahmed Saab was saying. But the point is that recognizing that air pollution is both multi-sectoral and unconstrained by borders, Punjab is adopting a new model of air quality governance, transitioning from crisis management to a sustained, structured, clean air transformation. So this is where the whole of the conversation has to be. It has to be inclusive, I agree. It is like we're starting from somewhere. Now, previously, as Ahmed Saab showed, that comparison of EPA's indexation and the EPA standards of USA, that makes actually sense. We do these things as civil servants. I'm not saying that we don't. But the point is that we're starting from somewhere. So there are things that are happening right now. EPA and EPCCD, that is Environment Protection Department, has gone under tremendous transformation. It might not be perfect, but it is a starting point. For example, I can tell you the total number of, like, as in numbers, the numbers have gone up by 600% when it comes to the funding that is just to the department, let alone. If you bring in the cross-sectoral things that the government is trying to bring in to address this issue, that jacks up to about 6,000%. And that is the number from 1 year only. So But the problem is, like, this is a long-term solution. This is a long-term problem. You need to have a long-term solution. So we talked about this clean air strategy. I'm not going to talk about it. This is an old thing, but if you look at this, this is interesting. So when you ask someone that what is plaguing our environment on daily basis, so I'm just moving away from just the smog season. Let's forget about smog. What is the major culprit in this? It's transport. Then it is industries. Then it is the energy, the fuel air quality that we were talking about, and then agriculture, and then the rest of the world. The biggest pie, at least in terms of when it comes to Lahore, is transport sector. But if you couple it with the fuel air quality, fuel quality, it becomes the biggest one. So are we that cash rich that we are going to take off all the cars on the road? Probably not. Probably we cannot. But here where the citizen-led action comes in, here where I think the partnership between the government and the people has to be there. So there has to be a recalibration, there has to be a rethinking of the way that we approach this problem. The way we think, it is not just the government's problem. It is my problem, it is your problem, it is everybody's problem. So the response has to be a very, very coordinated response, but a very well thought response. So I would not say that we are there yet, but we have just started that journey. We have just started that. We may disagree on most of the things, but if you look at this, as I said earlier, so these are like, we are now generating some evidence. I wouldn't say it's like the epitome of evidence. It's like, you cannot challenge that. For example, we started with 3 air quality monitors in the government sector up till last year. Now we have 45 regulatory grade AQI monitors across Punjab, and this is going to be jacked up by next year to, I think, 100. So once you start collecting scientific evidence, it is very difficult to play with it. We may agree or disagree on the way we look at it, but you cannot reject the scientific data that you're collecting on scientific basis. So once we have that, so our approach is now different. It is a total shift. I have seen that shift because when I came here about a year and a half ago, it was still a problem. Last year, this transition starting taking place, and it was about, like, it's not just action. It's like not just one season. Because when it comes to smog, one of our friends says a very interesting thing. He says that, I'll just say that, वो कहता है कि December or January में आप सिर्फ दुआ कर सकते हैं. Because there's nothing that you can do that on that scale that can avert this problem. So मैं इसकी उसमें नहीं जाता, but just to give you an overview of what Punjab Clean Air Program is. Punjab Clean Air Program is a bank-funded program, but bank finance program, but the difference is that it is a program for results. So you'll achieve certain results, then the disbursements will be made. So it has 4 major components. One is the air quality monitoring and governance, and bringing it at par with international standards. So we are bringing in more monitors, and we are taking the number to 100, but these have to be on the standards of internationally accepted standards. It cannot be just an arbitrary one. The second part is, the largest part is the transport. In transport, we are bringing in fuel quality testing labs, EVIX regime. We are bringing in about 600 buses, let alone in Lahore, 2,000 buses across, though it is not the part of the program, it's the government's program. We are bringing in 2,000 electric buses. And after this, we are looking into replacing bikes. So any idea how many bikes are in Lahore? 2 million. How many cars are in Lahore? 7.4 million registered vehicles in Lahore. So when we say it's just one person's problem, it's not. It's a society as a whole problem. And the bike number is 5.5 million. So when you talk about the fuel quality is not just something that the provincial government can come and just say that we have fixed it. We import fuel. We have refineries. We import about 20 or 24% of the fuel that is Euro 5 compliant, and the rest, our refineries are not at that standard. We mix that fuel. So when that comes in, so it is an organic problem. It is an organic problem. There are too many layers to it. So the response has to be coordinated. But the good thing is that we've started thinking about it, doing something about it. Punjab Clean Air Program is one point. Here we bring environment, transport, agriculture department there. And if we go forward, then we look at industries. So we are commissioning an international study on source apportionment and looking into the what is plaguing the industrial sector. And I would like to have that slide that Ahmed Sahab you mentioned. It is an interesting slide because it takes back us to the moot point where we don't want to look at the evidence. If the evidence is there, it is there. It is simple. So I would be interested in looking into that as well, and we would like to see that how it can guide our study as well. So when it comes to crop burning, when this season hits in, interestingly on the both sides of the border, we have kind of a same DNA. We don't do much differently. So stubble burning was one of the causes, not the major cause, but one of the causes that aggravate this problem in this IGP plains. So at the same time, stubble burning comes in, fog comes in, mixes it with this, and it becomes smog. और आपका पूरा area जो है, it's just like a one unbreathable place. By the way, government introduced super seeders. They localized the solution. लोगों को उन्होंने train किया कि यार ये आप खुद बनाएं. Stubble burning is now down by 67%. 1 year. It is scientifically recorded data. So it's like these are baby steps. But the point is that these are three levers that has to be there. We have to build monitoring systems, we have to look into emerging innovations, and we have to have result-based financing. So this that I have already talked about. The reason I skipped because I got very what I would say, not intimidated, but it was very interesting to go through the presentation that Ahmed Sahab gave. It is actually the real problem is it has to be cross-sectoral. It has to be across the government as a society as a whole. The solution does not lie in one thing. For example, China spent billions of dollars. Beijing was just a couple of days back, one of the on the AQA rankings was one of the most polluted cities. So what does it tell you? It simply tells you that whatever you do, the solution has to be coordinated, it has to be cross-sectoral, but it doesn't guarantee that you can mitigate that 100%. It can come back, but it doesn't say that it as well that you can't do much. You can actually address the problem. So this is what the AQI that I've talked about, that we are bringing this in. And so we have, by the way, installed, at least in Lahore, we have installed these analyzers on the industrial units that check the emissions. And the zigzag thing that has been there, and there has been a lot of discussion on this. But the things now that are changing is EPA has got his new headquarter. They have new war room, as they would call it, though I wouldn't agree with that. But the good part about that is that it has now access to a lot of data sets, a lot of live data, scientific data that actually helps you look into the problem and create a response, or at least craft a response that is worthy of that. So coming to this is where it is going to be, the climate observatory. We're bringing in a climate observatory that brings in the data from the Met, from the PDMA, from all this, and the idea is to create a center of excellence that is based in scientific research, that collaborates with the world on scientific evidence, and that gives us a way forward to look into this problem as not just one day problem or a one season problem, but a year-long, 365 days way to look at it. So this is going to be a knowledge-sharing ecosystem where we are going to work with people like Ahmed Saab, Mariam, and other people who are working in this field. Hopefully it is going to be an AI-driven forecasting model that paves the way for proactive climate action. And we are going to have district-level performance tracking supported by digital decision boards. and that I have talked about, that PCAP is a multi-sectoral program. It has about 9 deliverables, disbursement link indicators, and 47 result-based areas. So it is a very, very targeted program, though the program's quantum is very little as when it comes to the size of Punjab, but it gives you an insight into that how a cross-sectoral, multi-sectoral program looks like, how this can help you mitigate the problem at hand in a very, very structured manner. And once I hope that it goes well and we are able to achieve the targets that we have set, we will be able to generate some kind of evidence that how a coordinated action works. And then coming to this, that we believe a strategy cannot be effective without localized action. That's what I think you'll say a lot of difference of opinion exists. Therefore, we have led to target interventions in various sectors to mitigate air pollution. Now I'm referring to the Smog Action Plan. That is a cross-sectoral plan that brings in all the actors within the government sector in one place. And I'm part of one such groups, and I dread if I read any message on that, because it's all the time people are like hounding, people are running after something. But as it has been discussed earlier, that we have to have a kind of a very coordinated effort in addressing the solution. So this is what I was talking about the superseders, the surveillance, the e-mechanization, and about the buses, EV adoption, VIX regime, and I don't agree to hard enforcement, because I think internalization of law is more important. It is not just the fear of law, it is internalization of law. I think as a society, as a people, we have to realize that we are part of the problem as well. We're not just it's not just we are on the receiving end. If I am plying 5 vehicles on the road from my house, I'm as much as contributing to it. Where there are other problems, there are other factors as well, but I'm part of the problem as well. So until or unless we change our behavior to that, it is going to be a very, very difficult job. So, and there's MSR favorites, brick lanes. But now I think most of them have converted, and I don't talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it. So, but I will talk about this. So, Punjab Sutra Punjab program, it is lifting about 50,000 tons of waste every day. It is one of the it is a local innovation. You guys need to look into it. It is not driven by donor finance or a donor capacity. But there is one site here, Lakhoder, which is one of the largest site that brings you emissions and but if you look at the government's plan about it and what's happening there, it is going to be fixed. I'm not saying that we have done everything that is there. We're just starting, but it is a long journey and we have to do it together. And my only point of difference, even with the government on this, is had this vehicle been an electric vehicle, this wouldn't be a problem, because if you look at this number, this is like a localized action. So at about 9 a.m., this was a reading from the number. This started doing this and it brought down into this. But at the same time, as Ahmed Saab said, what are you measuring? Are you measuring what it is creating or not? So I wouldn't go into that debate. But from a point of action, I think we learn from it is a repetitive thing, it is an iterative thing. We keep on learning from what we are doing. So results ahead. So this is the last year in this year AQI. We might have gained some days, but it's not enough. We're just starting with it. And I think the realization on the government part, because since I have been here for some time now, and I have never seen any government commit even a smaller pie to the environment as a sector. it was a departure for me from at least my understanding that, oh, this department, this sector is important. So the numbers don't lie actually. When you look at the spending, it has gone up by 500%. We may agree to disagree whether it is going in the right subsectors or not. But if you look at the transport, it has gone up about 4,500%. And most of it is in the EVs. So these things, and the same is about agriculture. So there are things happening, but as the general understanding is, it has to be cross-sectoral, it has to be across the society, it has to be a collaborative effort. And one last slide that I would want to show about the fire anomalies. They have reduced 67%. They have reduced 67%, and it does have some impact. And lastly, these are just some small, medium-term things. But to end this, I think MSAP summed it up well, that it is not a seasonal thing. It is a year-long problem. We have to think both as policymakers, as individuals, as professionals. We have to look at this problem in a way that it is going to stay with us. We have to adjust to this reality, and we have to recalibrate our response to it. Thank you very much.
Your presentation, I think we all feel much better that we're in good hands and the government is really working towards improving the situation. And as you mentioned that never as public health practitioners we ever saw that or witnessed in Punjab or in the country overall that such initiatives or such focus was given towards environmental health. So there are several issues that plague us, but we all complain of government's apathy towards it, but this is certainly not one of those. And we all feel much better. I can speak for myself and on behalf of my students and my, I can see some nodding heads as well, that we feel that the government is actually making the right moves and acknowledging the shortcomings as well. So that really shows that they really want to make a change and improve the condition of air quality here in Punjab, specifically and across the regions. Our next speaker is Ms. Mariam Shah. She's Head of Communications in Pakistan Air Quality Initiative. She's Program Manager for EPIC Air Quality Award, under which PAQI is establishing a substantial air quality monitoring network of over 150 monitors across Pakistan. She's a writer, editor, a thinker who's dedicated to translating complex air quality data into clear, impactful narratives, an ardent advocate for clean air. Welcome, Mariam.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on this esteemed platform. I'm happy to be here. Mr. Rafi Alam and Mr. Ahmed Rajwana have spoken, I think both of them have spoken very well and quite elaborately on the history, on the things that are being done. So I'm going to, I think, keep my presentation focused more on the way forward. I think the reason why we're here at the first place is because air pollution has been something that we've been living with for decades without really knowing that, that we have this problem. I think most of us were kind of exposed to this problem last year when in November we had this low visibility, which otherwise is usually restricted or was usually witnessed during December and January, the foggy months, and the problem was attributed, the smog problem was attributed to fog and not smog, which was actually what the case is. And that's what happened in November last year, is that everybody was forced to kind of sit up and take notice that this is a problem and this is a real problem, and that now we really have to act now. And we can't really put it off for longer because, anyway, I'll get to that in the next part of my presentation. But my point is that, when we talk about air pollution, We can keep it as simple as we like, or we can make it as complicated as we like as well. I mean, when we talk about data, it's not something that's easily understandable by most of us sitting in this room. These are like conversations that that take place in in like, let's say, meeting rooms, or in government offices, or in small concentrated circles that understand these things. So my personal role in all of this is to make it understandable by everybody, to make us realize that air pollution is a problem that all of us face, and that all of us need to contribute to kind of reach to that solution where we're better. Because at this point right now, I mean, Pakistan is like 99% of us in Pakistan are breathing polluted air, and I think most of us don't realize that we are. So just 1 second, sorry. So the whole point is that we've normalized air pollution, and like, so what should we do to kind of move on from here? What can we do? Just a couple of days ago, there's this WhatsApp group, and there's climate activists on it from across Pakistan, and somebody brought it up that बड़ी इमाम में कोई पता नहीं कितने हज़ारों घर जो earthquake के बाद जो बने थे वो they've been bulldozed, and because somebody had brought up कि इस साल air pollution के बारे में ज़्यादा शोर नहीं है. पिछले साल नवंबर में तो काफ़ी शोर था जब सारी चीज़ें like when the AQI was hitting 1000 and 2000 in Multan, everybody was talking about it. But इस साल एक तो air pollution कम भी रही है नवंबर के महीने में. अक्टूबर में we were like around the same as we were last year, but because November last year was so anomalous and so kind of like the levels were exceeding so much, and this time they were like kind of normal. Like our normal is unhealthy and hazardous. Okay, but right now there's not much talk because it's like the air seems fine, although that's how we've normalized it. The air is not fine. The air is still like you're at PM 2.5 levels of 200, 300 plus, which again is very, very unhealthy and affects all of us. Yet all of us are continuing to do our activities as we go on normally. This morning I think the AQI was about 400. I don't see any of us wearing a mask, including myself. But the fact is that it is a public health emergency. I mean, COVID ke dauran we had these like messages coming on the cell phones ke mask pehen ke jaएं, हाथ धोएं और ये वो सारा कुछ. We were made to fear contracting COVID so much that all of us were wearing masks के हमें कुछ ना हो जाए या हमारे loved ones को कुछ ना हो जाए, and that was how it was done. But right now we're not made to fear air pollution to that level where all of us are walking around wearing masks. And why is that? Why is such the case? Because air pollution does and is affecting all of us to that level, even if we don't realize it right now. I mean, hospitals are full, but some of us are luckier than others, and I mean, that's how it kind of goes. So anyway, so I was talking about that conversation on this climate action group, and somebody was saying that इस साल जो है ज़्यादा बात नहीं हो रही है pollution के बारे में. तो किसी और ने कहा कि जी इधर लोगों के घर जो हैं वो ख़राब मतलब बर्बाद हो रहे हैं, और मतलब लोगों के पास खाना नहीं है, टेक्सटाइल फैक्ट्रियाँ बंद हो रही हैं. So why would anyone care about like climate action or the environment? And I was a little taken aback because this was a climate action group, so I kind of expected people to or this person to kind of have like a more enlightened approach towards this whole thing, because that's the fact. The air pollution is always kind of sidelined to an environmental issue or like a climate issue, whereas it's not that. It's actually something that is a very basic fundamental right that is a public health emergency right now across Pakistan, yet we just kind of disregard it and sideline it. KG, it's an environmental issue, right? So I think this was already explained already why in winter we have these temperature inversions which kind of like block the pollutants at a certain level. I usually give this example कि अभी हम इस कमरे में बैठे हुए हैं और अगर कोई यहाँ पे हम अगर bonfire लगा के बैठ जाएं तो ये कमरा कितनी ज़्यादा धुआं से भर जाएगा, right? So similarly यहाँ अगर आप बाहर जाएंगे और bonfire लगाएंगे तो वो हवा में ऊपर चला जाता है, हमें इतना फील नहीं होता. So in winter it's like having a bonfire inside a closed room, because our atmosphere and our city is enclosed, is like an enclosed space. So all the emissions that are coming out from cars and trucks, and all the waste burning, all the fires happening, like all of this kind of, it just gets stuck and trapped, and it becomes a very poisonous cocktail of things that we are inhaling. So again, I found this very interesting. Again, I think Mr. Raphael also shared these news that the Punjab records nearly 300 pneumonia fatalities in January. That was in January 2024, and then I think in March the government came out with the smog action plan, and work has been happening on that. And then November 2024 was that 2 million buses, seek treatment as smog chokes Punjab, and the AQI levels were 1,000 and 2,000. And what I found interesting was that in that story it also said that this is the first time that the Punjab Health Department has consolidated data to estimate the impact of smog. So literally last year in November was the first time that the government consolidated the data. This is something that we have been facing for over a decade at least, but just last year this was done. So anyway, so these are also, criteria pollutants. I'm sure most of you know it by now, as Mr. Raphael also covered it, and as Mr. Ahmed Jarjwan as well. So these are the, main, like we have PM, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and then all the sources, इसमें waste burning और crop brick kilns भी add करते हैं, तो यहाँ पे हमारी सारी sources आ जाती हैं. And these are the pollutants that kind of make up the AQI, but उसमें से जो सबसे जो ज़्यादा important जो होती है pollutant, that is PM 2.5, which this is on the left, you can see the size of a single human hair, and that little purple dot is the size of the PM 2.5, so which is 2.5 microns, whereas a single human hair is 70 microns. So it's that small and it's that tiny, and it goes directly into our bloodstreams, and that is the most the pollutant that we are most concerned with, and that contributes to the bad AQI that we face. So this is another interesting question, is even myself personally, before I really kind of got into this, it was just a very I feel that we all view air pollution as something कि जब गाड़ी से धुआं निकल रहा होता है तो हम कहते हैं कि ओहो वो देखो गाड़ी पोल्यूट कर रही है, whereas हमारी अपनी गाड़ी भी पोल्यूट कर रही होती है जो हमें नज़र नहीं आ रहा होता. So air pollution is not something कि आप उसको देख सकते हैं या feel करते हैं. How polluted do you think it would be in our room right now? Do you feel it's polluted, or you think it's it's okay? Okay, so I have this handheld monitor, right, and the PM 2.5 right now is 226, right? So the PM 2.5 level is very unhealthy, pretty much hazardous at this point, right? But we can't see it.
But it's good for us. We're normalized.
Yes, we've normalized it. We can't see it and we can't smell it like we can with dhua, but so again, like you said. So WHO has their standard, which they say कि 5 milligram per day या 15 milligram होना चाहिए, 15 microgram, sorry. पंजाब के अपने स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं 35 कहते हैं कि मिनिमम 35 होना चाहिए, हम अभी 225 पे है. So huge difference, right? Like huge. So yeah, so that's another thing that I wanted to kind of bring everybody's attention to, is that just because you can't see it or you can't smell it, it does not mean that it's not polluted. Right now we are everywhere in Pakistan pretty much, we're polluted. We've set up monitors across Pakistan, Muzaffarabad, Abtabad, Mansehra. रोज सुबह मैं चेक करती हूँ, हर जगह hazardous. It's like that mauve grayish color that I get to see on my Air Visual app. and it's quite sad. And the problem is because it's this geographical area that we're in. It's like from Afghanistan to Bangladesh, the IGP belt, the Indo-Gangetic Plains as they call it, on the foothills of the Himalayas and the Hindu Kush and the Karakoram. Interestingly enough, 2 days ago, I was looking, Kabul had like 740 AQI. I was like, welcome to the club, Kabul. So yeah, these are the colors that I was mentioning. The green is good, then we go to yellow, which is moderate, and orange unhealthy, red is unhealthy, purple very unhealthy, and then we go to this really like scary mauve color, which is hazardous, and then gray is just like beyond index. So these are all colors that we should acquaint ourselves with. We should. Punjab has finally also thankfully launched its own dashboard in which they are releasing AQI and like PM 2.5 etc. all the data on air quality in real time basis. So अगर air visual पे अगर आप नहीं है, आप definitely पंजाब AQI का dashboard उनकी app डाउनलोड करें. अब हमारी अपनी ऐप है तो we can easily refer to it and keep ourselves acquainted and adapt our behaviors accordingly. So now coming a little bit to our work, Pakistan Air Quality Initiative. Unfortunately, we are the only independent research organization in Pakistan working solely on air pollution. I say unfortunately because with the scale of the problem that we have, I wish we had so many more organizations working in this area and gathering knowledge, putting together information, doing forecasting, modeling, chemical speciation studies, what's in our air. I mean, it's an interesting thing. कि मतलब PM 2.5 में क्या है? हमें पता है कि बहुत सारे particles हैं, but what are those particles made out of? And the PM 2.5 in Lahore, how is it different from the PM 2.5 in Karachi? Maybe agar Karachi ki 200 PM 2.5 could be less harmful than say Lahore's 500 PM 2.5. We don't know these things. There's so much that we don't know. I mean, why did last year November happen? What are the meteorological conditions that contribute and cause these fluctuations? There is so much that we don't know. And we have this very humble kind of effort. We're a small team, and where we've been working. It was started by Abid Umar back in 2015. It was a very solo effort for almost 8 years. It's only been about almost 2 years since he set it up as a proper organization, and now we have like a small team working on different things. But it happened with him because he had just moved back from Beijing, and Beijing में उस वक्त smog का सारा problem चल रहा था in like 2011, 2013, and they were really making all those concerted efforts on fighting smog. So he had kind of seen it happening over there, and then when he visited Lahore, and he's like, okay, like this doesn't seem like fog, something that we've all grown up with and something that we've all seen. And then he kind of brought in these air quality monitors, as Rafi was mentioning. Unke ghar pe bhi, he was like the second or third one that he put up. So he put it up at like friends and relatives places and kind of started tracking the air quality data. So we have data from like 2016 that that shows how our air has been pretty much over the last almost 10 years. Even till now, Pakistan has an air quality data problem. Now, something again I would like to mention over here is that when we're talking about air pollution in Pakistan, we're not targeting Punjab, we're not targeting the Punjab government, we're not targeting the Pakistan government. We are talking about a problem that is faced across all of Pakistan. And Karachi has it's such a huge city, but it has very little. There's hardly any air quality monitors for a city of that scale. जितने होने चाहिए उधर बिल्कुल भी नहीं है. Most of Sindh is it's not monitored. अभी पंजाब में thanks to the government, there are more stations being set up. KP, Gilgit-Baltistan, Balochistan. I mean, we have no idea what's actually happening in the air over there. We do know it's polluted though, that's for sure. So, we have different areas that we work in. There's scientific research, then there's data monitoring and data, and then, policy and advocacy. So, Anyway, I'll just skip to the next one. So recently we released our first, our flagship kind of publication called Unveiling Pakistan's Air Pollution. It's a very honest and sincere effort to give a real kind of picture on where we are, where we're coming from, where we stand, and what we can do about it. It's like a 250-page report. Interestingly enough, that's how I joined Paki. I was brought in as an editor for this report. I had no previous experience in environment or air pollution or these things, and I had to really kind of educate myself and really get to know. I mean, I remember as soon as I joined, I was told, contact Rafe. He has to write a piece, and I said, okay, give me a month's time. Like, I need to know what I'm asking him to write about first. So I literally took a month before, I called Rafe and I said, please contribute to our report, etc. So that's how I kind of basically got involved, and then and then as I kept getting going deeper and deeper, I kind of realized that this is where I really wanted to kind of start putting my efforts towards and working on this problem. So it's just kind of like a walkthrough. I mean, we have emissions inventories for 4 cities, for Lahore, Islamabad, Karachi, and Peshawar. Then we talk about the health effects, the gendered burden, then we talk about crop burning, clean cooking, the transition to electric mobility, what we can do about the power plants around Lahore. A lot of them are just, waiting to be retired. A lot of them are not being utilized the way they're supposed to. So a way forward for that. Then when we talk about governance, policy, public engagement, all of these things, we have a history of all how it all started happening. So we've tried to kind of give an overall picture and really kind of gone deep into Pakistan's air pollution problem. So just for kind of we're living in Lahore. I think Mr. Ahmed Rajwana also shared similar figures as shared by Urban Unit as well. So I mean, pretty much the consensus is there now. I think we all know. This report came out, and unfortunately, I mean, I read in the newspaper, it was in Dawn, they had done a review, and they, the EPA kind of really put down this report and said कि इन्होंने अपनी methodology नहीं बताई, और ये इस चीज़ को criticize कर रहे हैं, उस चीज़ को criticize कर रहे हैं, which was a little disappointing, because एक तो हम लोग वही figures share कर रहे हैं जो मतलब Urban Union ने भी share किए, so I didn't understand that criticism. The second criticism was, again, we did not specifically target, like I said, the Punjab government specifically. I mean, the Punjab government is doing great work since over the past year and a half. But what is the Sindh EPA doing? What is the KP EPA doing? And what is the Pak EPA itself doing? There's no synergy between any of the EPAs, and if the Punjab EPA is also working on something, Baki Saro ko bhi ek thoda way forward dikhaye, because like I said, it's an overall Pakistan problem. It's not just a province problem, it's not a city problem, it's a whole country. And then we need to start first looking at the whole country first, because then we need to shift to looking at it as a regional problem as well. And then we have to work with our neighbors who we, 3 of whom we've attacked anyway. But we have to kind of, figure out, and these are the things that we can, really collaborate over and maybe get to better relations over, because these things affect all of us to that level. So just sharing some of the data that we shared in 2024, our data shows that there were 0 days of air quality meeting WHO's 24-hour guideline. All of these are, again, data that we have from 2017 to 2025, and it's all mostly purple, red, and orange. Unfortunately, no green and yellows, which shows the extent of the problem. We also release these monthly graphs, which kind of shows a comparison of the previous year, and then we also do an average comparison of from 2021 to 2023 as well. So so October we were pretty much on the same trend. November, because last year was so anomalous, so usme bahut betri thi. But overall as well, there has been an annual average improvement of 15%. So it's good news so far. I'm interested to see how December will be like. I think I'm not sure. I should not state anything just yet till we have the science and data to kind of back it up. So let's see how December is. But we release monthly analysis as well. So just to kind of keep a track, and I think that helps the government as well in knowing of their efforts also. So this is a cleaner summit that we did last month with the University of Management and Technology. We had the senior minister coming in and giving a comprehensive presentation on all the initiatives taken by the Punjab government. Abid Umar had his keynote, and then my point kind of was that हम जब air quality की बात कर रहे होते हैं हम वही 4-5 लोग इकट्ठे होके वही बातें कर रहे होते हैं. So I wanted to bring in more people. So we brought in artists, we brought in teachers, we brought in people working as like talking about like influencers and students. So because this is again a problem that affects all of us, and we all need to participate and bring a collective voice together and be heard and be understood, and because that's how collective action and improvement takes place. This is a small project that we did this season. This is a billboard. इस पे हमने फैब्रिक के ये लंग्स लगाए हुए हैं सफ़ेद रंग के. इन दोनों लंग्स के भी वायर फ्रेम के ऊपर कपड़ा लगा हुआ है सफ़ेद, और इसके पीछे एक पंखा है. So the पंखा, what it does is that it draws in the air. It shows the air quality of that place where the billboard is, and then your air quality. Also gives the AQI colors. So it's like just to kind of create that public awareness and make people, look at it and kind of see what the figures say, and then look at, how it's affecting us, unfortunately. So we kept one fan off and one fan on, and this is only 3 days later that the rung on the right side, as you can see, it was completely brown. So this was at University of Management and Technology. Took it to GC as well. I would have brought it here, but it started kind of, it was giving a bit of problem in its functionality. So we've been, doing smog awareness sessions and then, with younger children as well, doing interactive workshops, because it's like, it's very hard to kind of just stand and talk. You have to kind of interact with them and make them more interested. But it was really, really good experiences in that way. So yes, coming back to my point is that, as Mr. Ahmed Rajwan also said, this is something that we all need to be involved in. वैसे तो कहते हैं that blue skies is a sign of good governance, and it's very true. We need the government to kind of take these initiatives and implement them and enforce them. But we as citizens need to also play our roles in, our respective role in doing clean air activities and modifying our behaviors. Climate change is a huge threat, and we all need to adapt our behaviors, because if we don't, then we see things like what November 2024 happened. We see the things like the floods happening. We see all these glacial floods and all of those things happening. So all of these really require huge behavioral shifts, because a truck that's roaming around in like on the motorway from Multan to Lahore, uski jo black carbon or soot hai wo hamare mountains mein jaake glaciers ko kala kar rahi hai, because air pollution, like all of these pollutants they travel by air. So all of these things are something that we need to think about. But also so we have to kind of really just kind of giving these images. Yeah, this was kind of very similar to this morning as well, unfortunately. But as I said, like it's 500 AQI, and life continues as normal as we are continuing right now as well. Anyway, these are just some interesting kind of ways to depict data. There's Islamabad, Karachi, Lahore, and Peshawar. The left side is January or end May, jaake December hai. So you can see how the air kind of fluctuates throughout the year. Now these are the 3 most polluted cities, Lahore, New Delhi and Dhaka. And there you have Beijing, which was the most polluted city at some point, but now it has mostly blue skies, which shows that, they've done the work and they've kind of really made those concerted efforts that are required to clean up the air. So it's basically we have to really make the right choices at this point and really think and evaluate our behaviors and where we're going with whatever it is that we choose to do. I think being over here right now, I would request everyone. I mean, I'm sure there are medical students here, professionals. There's a lot of research that is required in air pollution data and the impacts on health. We hardly have any studies. I mean, given the scale of the problem, we've done a literature review in our report by Dr. Saima Saeed of the Endless Hospital, and she's reviewed all the existing data. But there's so much more that we need to really look into and evaluate how it's impacting us and our children, the mothers, the elderly, the more immunocompromised. So all of these things, all of us need to ask ourselves that how can I personally contribute to cleaning up the air, and if there's nothing substantial in that way, मतलब अगर आप कोई study नहीं कर रहे, just the fact is just talk about it, just make people aware about it, make your families aware about it, make your kids aware about it. What's a time to go out and play, what's a time to close the windows and stay indoors, things like these small acts of protection that we can do for ourselves. And thank you.
And for evidence-based conversation as well, by letting us all know what the quality of air is in this room right now. Our next speaker is Dr. Rabia Kaisar. She's a graduate of Aga Khan University, Associate Professor of Medicine at Virginia Commonwealth University, US, Consultant Physician at BNI, and Baccalaureate Graduate Certification Holder in Adult Learning for Medical Education. Rabia Kaisar.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamu alaikum all. My focused audience is beyond the second row, जो medical students हैं और जो younger doctors हैं in this group. And I want to start by saying that we've been living in this bowl for the last 1,000 years. जो bowl की बात हो रही है ना आज, और more than that, right? लेकिन ये problem जो है ये पिछले 50 साल, probably 40-50 साल से बन रही है. And I think one of the major reasons which you all need to know about, and you probably already know, लेकिन इसको आप digest करें कि 200-300 साल पहले हमारे ऊपर एक ऐसी हुकूमत आई थी जो हमें स्लेव्स बना के रखती थी. उनके लिए अलहदा सब कॉन्टिनेंट था, हमारे लिए अलहदा सब कॉन्टिनेंट था. ठीक है, तो वो चले गए, लेकिन वो माइंड सेट चल रहा है अभी. तो ये जो गैस या जो पेट्रोल हम गलत वाला या कम क्वालिटी वाला यूज़ कर रहे हैं, इसका जो एक प्रॉफिट जा रहा है वो किसके लिए जा रहा है. तो ये चीज़ों को आपने अपने जहन में रखना है. और जो दूसरी चीज़ हम सब भूल गए हैं ना, आप सब, मैं, हम सब, वो है द बेसिक मैसेज. ठीक है, अ पार्ट ऑफ व्हाट इज़ रॉन्ग इज़ कि ये हमारा बेसिक राइट है, इसके लिए हमने लड़ना है. कोई आपके लिए लड़ेगा नहीं. जिस तरह पाकिस्तान में या लाहौर में कहते हैं ना कि ड्राइविंग आपने अपने आप को बचा के ख़ुद करनी है, कोई आपको नहीं बचाएगा. इसी तरह आपने ये जो क्लीन एयर है, क्लीन वाटर है, क्लीन फूड है, शेल्टर है, यू हैव टू फाइट फॉर इट योरसेल्फ. आई एम गोइंग टू डिवाइड दिस, मेक दिस वेरी शॉर्ट बिकॉज आई नो देयर इज़ टाइम शॉर्टेज. तो 3 पार्ट्स में ये प्रेजेंटेशन होगी. 1 part is going to be which is a revision for all of you, healthcare impacts of air pollution. Second part is a history of this region. Okay, it's a 10-minute piece from this great book. Please वो book आप सब लोग purchase करके उसको ज़रूर पढ़ें. उसका title होगा यहाँ पे जब वो play हो रहा होगा. So उस 10 minutes पे आप ये बाकी सब focus lose कर जाएं. Please उस 10 minutes पे focus ना lose कीजिएगा. ठीक है, और वो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है, आप लोगों को मज़ा आएगा सुन के. एंड द थर्ड पार्ट इज़ अ क्वेश्चन दैट आईड लाइक टू पुट फॉरवर्ड टू यू ऑल. ओके, so I'm not going to talk about my objectives here and have no time for this. This is a picture, obviously we've all shared pictures, but a comparison of model town. This was taken in 2024. ये जो मॉडल टाउन पार्क के दरमियान में है, और ये जब स्मॉग सीज़न अपनी पीक पे था तो क्या तस्वीर थी उस ज़माने में. I remember in October या November 2024 I was landing in Lahore. It was maybe perhaps 7:30 in the morning or 8 o'clock, and I had a visceral reaction when I looked outside. Like मुझे तबीयत ख़राब हो गई मेरी देखकर. The dirt cloud that the plane was about to enter into, it was not a nice view. And this is not the Lahore. I mean, हमें तो नहीं याद कि इस तरह, या हमें पता नहीं था पहले. That's true कि we were unaware. I'm going to skip quite a few slides here. So I want to share some stats. लोकल भी थोड़े से हैं लेकिन ज़्यादा इंटरनेशनली हमारे पास रिसर्च बिल्कुल नहीं है. आप लोगों ने ये सब कुछ शुरू करना है, ठीक है. सो एन एनालिसिस, दिस वाज पब्लिश्ड इन लैंसेट फ्रॉम 2015. पाकिस्तान लॉस्ट लाइव्स 1,35,000 ड्यू टू एयर पोल्यूशन, ठीक है. ये 10 साल पुरानी बात है. और पाकिस्तान was number 4 in risk factors, air pollution risk leading to death. 10 countries were compared in this study and Pakistan was number 4 at that time. और disability adjusted life years, यानी कि जो बीमार हैं वो डिसेबल हो गए हैं और वो काम पे नहीं आ रहे, that was 3,114, which is quite a bit, क्योंकि हर कोई हम एक दूसरे से जुड़ा होता है. आपको पता है कि आपके अगर इमरजेंसी वार्ड में एक हाउस ऑफिसर बीमार हो जाए तो सबको बाकियों को किस तरह फिल इन करना पड़ता है. सो इट्स नॉट अ स्मॉल नंबर पर 100,000. Then this is a report from University of Chicago. I'm sure you're all familiar with this. With the exposure of ambient air pollution, life lost is 1.8, almost 2 years. ये तो 2018 का डेटा उन्होंने पब्लिश किया था. And this is from the other side of the world, ठीक है. लेकिन closer to us, closer to home, which is India, Times of India का आर्टिकल जो अभी 2025 में ही पब्लिश हुआ है, it is estimated that air pollution reduces average life expectancy in India by 3.5 years. So way more than what University of Chicago report told us. And then in Delhi, which is the most polluted city in the world, and Lahore and Delhi आगे सीसॉ ही हो रहा होता है, कभी हम होते हैं कभी वो होते हैं most polluted. 8 years, यानी कि if we were to live up to 75 years, that means we're going to die at 68, right? 8 years is not a small. 8 years में बहुत कुछ accomplish हो सकता है, ठीक है. लोगों ने पूरी सल्तनतें बनाई हुई हैं, पूरा दुनिया का मैप चेंज किया हुआ है 8 years में. So please उसको काम ना लें. And then AQI greater than 500, इसकी तो हमारी बात हो चुकी है कि last year it was up to 1,000, 1,500 and beyond and whatever. So no matter how much you hate smoking and you're against smoking, you're made to smoke 25 to 30 cigarettes in this air once AQI hits more than 500. अच्छा जी, healthcare impact. So your vulnerable population, children, elderly, pregnant women, people with pre-existing lung conditions and lower socio-economic. अच्छा, lower socio-economic बेचारों के साथ तो और ही बुरा हाल है. एक तो हेल्थ केयर डिस्पैरिटी भी है, ऊपर से उन्होंने काम पे भी जाना ही जाना है. दे कैन नॉट मिस देयर दिहाड़ी एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. तो वो तो एक्सपोज हो ही रहे हैं, उनके साथ तो डबल वैमी हो रही है ना. And then your respiratory system and ENT, जो for medical students and trainees जो signs and symptoms आप देखेंगे इस टाइम पे, वो होगा cough, flu-like symptoms, breathing difficulties and wheezing, ठीक है. तो अपनी physical exam skills भी हमने बेहतर करनी है यहाँ पे. और उधर से this was published, this is from impacts of air pollution and smog on human health in Pakistan, a systemic review 2025 में ये publish हुआ है. And according to the faculty in University of Punjab, there is a decrease of your lung capacity by 40%, ठीक है. lung capacity जो आपकी है ना, आप सबको पता है lung capacity क्या होती है यहाँ पे. 40% decrease हो जाती है in times of haze. फिर you're continuing with the respiratory impacts, asthma exacerbations, COPD exacerbations over the long term, lung fibrosis हो रहा है, lung cancer का risk increase हो रहा है. And for those of you who've never been diagnosed with asthma, COPD or any of that, reactive airway disease happens, and it's happened to me in the last 4 years twice. I've myself, mujhe inhalers lene pade and all of that, and someone or the other at home is always sick. So then this Dawn article from 2024, there was a survey done, and you can see infographic as well. This is from the same article. 7 out of 10, this was a survey done, and 7 out of 10 Pakistanis were facing healthcare issues due to smog. This is in 2024, okay. Cardiovascularly, heart attacks, blood clots increase, ठीक है. Neurologically, stroke increase होता है, आपका Alzheimer's prevalence and incidence is increased. Mental health, depression increases. So it's a head to toe disease, ठीक है. It's a systemic, it causes a syndrome. It's not just कि lungs को आपका affect हो रहा है, पूरा आपकी head to toe body जो है ना वो उस पे affect हो रहा है. Dermatologically आपको allergies, which patients will come in with rash or itching of the skin. And then endocrine, this is from a comprehensive review on endocrine toxicity of gaseous components and particulate matter in smog. It was published in Frontiers of Endocrinology, and it's a local review. So according to this local review, your adrenal glands, thyroid glands get affected, metabolic syndrome gets worse. सो सिर्फ वो खाने पीने से डायबिटीज़ और ब्लड प्रेशर नहीं ऑफ होता आपका, आप पोल्यूशन भी जब पोल्यूटेड एयर ब्रीथ कर रहे होते हैं तो योर डायबिटीज़ कैन गेट वर्स, योर हाइपरटेंशन एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट कैन गेट वर्स, एंड देन लीड्स टू इनफर्टिलिटी एज वेल. Hormonal problems होते हैं. Then this is a smog analysis and its effect on reported ocular surface diseases. It's a case study of 2016 smog event in Lahore. I remember I was living in the US in 2016 and I had to come in October for a family emergency, और मुझे याद है इत्तेफाक हॉस्पिटल के hallways were, समझ ही नहीं आ रही थी ये क्या है, it was just haze. So you can see dry eyes, eye irritation, lid erosion, corneal disease, uveitis. All of this got substantially worse as compared to 2015 and 2016. I think it was a 3-day data collection. And I believe the two hospitals, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, मुझे याद नहीं है, एक तो शेख ज़ैद था और एक मेयो हॉस्पिटल था. So different, localities, लेकिन दोनों में worsening था ocular diseases का. So this is the sound bite that I'd like you to please listen to. ठीक है, इसके first 2 minutes को गौर से सुनिएगा, last 3 minutes को गौर से सुनिएगा. हम stubble burning के बारे में, वो बेचारे किसान जो हैं, ऐसे ही नहीं हुआ कि उन्होंने stubble burning शुरू कर दी. These are policies in place for the last 50 years that ended up causing them, forced them to start doing the stubble burning. ठीक है, और the policies जो हैं वो जिन्होंने बनाई थी उनका short term gain था. So please listen to this. दरम्यान में you'll get a lot of history, but I think the first 2 minutes and the last 3 minutes are going to be very interesting. And do buy this book for all the medical students and trainees, and please go ahead and read it. You will know कि reality of the system क्या है जिसमें हम काम कर रहे हैं और हमें किन किन चीज़ों से fight करना है. So I hope it works through completely.
After diagnosis by examining a death by fire. Hina Pandey was one of the 1.67 million people who died of air pollution in India in 2019. She felt the filth in the air build in her lungs over her lifetime of work, picking and sorting trash on a municipal dump. If she had lived in a richer country, or if she had had resources, she might have been diagnosed with COPD, an inflammatory disease of the lungs, and given a portable oxygen machine. But waste pickers, particularly women waste pickers, don't have access to that kind of money. By day, Pandey breathed in the fetid air of the Panswar dump in northern Delhi, a teetering municipal landfill that routinely crushes the waste pickers working on it because of the decomposition of material within it. She would often complain about the smell of rot mixed with a burnt chemical odor. The dump frequently caught fire. In 2016 alone, There were 117 separate blazes. By night, she cooked dinner over an open flame for her family. Every exposure sent small particles through her respiratory system into her body. The heart attack that killed her in her sleep in her early 40s was precipitated by these particles that brought fire down the tree of her lungs and into her blood vessels, singeing the delicate tissues as they traveled. The Punjab region of South Asia, before the colonists invaded, was once home to large forests. Over thousands of years, Macedonians, Mauryans, Shakas, Mughals, and British all made their mark in this part of northern India and southern Pakistan, named for the 5 rivers fed by the Himalayas, Ganges 5 are its waters, that nurture the rich soil. As each colonial empire expanded its borders and the footprint of settled agriculture, it further encroached on the forest. Cities grew and occasionally shrank. Trade networks became more intricate and sometimes collapsed. Pastoralists and nomads were conquered and conscripted and settled. In one wave of colonization 2,000 years ago, the jungle in Punjab around Patiala burned. The Mahabharata tells of the systematic destruction of the forest together with the Adivasi, India's indigenous people, who lived there, all in the name of advancing civilization. Many centuries later, the British did worse, because the British weren't just colonists, but capitalists too. Under feudalism in Europe, forests had been commons on which the poorest depended. After the Black Death, and after Europe began its transition to capitalism, those forests became less a refuge and source of sustenance than a resource to be exploited by the rich. Laws of enclosure, beginning in 13th century England, brought public lands under private control, rerouting and concentrating the circulation of wealth and power. The poor fought to preserve their rights to the forests, but were ultimately defeated in a series of early modern peasant wars. Arguably, capitalism's original sin was to transform the forest from a space in which humans might find fuel, food, building material, medicine, and sanctuary necessary for life, to a thing that could be privately held and exploited. As Europe's forests dwindled, its appetite for resources, workers to convert into wealth, compelled them to invade other lands and to expand out across the rest of the planet. This imperative drove the British East India Company and its colonial ambitions. In Ireland, British clear-cut forests for shipbuilding. In India, the forest became a resource for the next generation of technological capitalist advancement, the train. Across the empire, a new, displaced class of people was sundered from the forest as they came to be embedded in new international flows of extraction and trade, with nothing to save them from hunger but the sale of their labor. India's forests were central to the British imperial economy. Early modern travelers' accounts and court documents tell of rhinos and elephants featuring in court rituals and hunts. After the British arrived in the 17th century, the forests were cleared of megafauna. Many of those forests are gone now, as are the jungles, the pejorative term used by settled agricultural civilizations to refer to nomadic and pastoral people. The best translation is savages. In the colonial cosmology, this was a holy war of society against nature. British officials reported that previous Oriental governments in India had allowed forests to remain untouched, and that the untapped resources, the waste and forest lands never attracted their attention. In order to create one of the largest railway networks on Earth, railway builders turned the trees into sleeping cars, and large parts of the forest were felled and even to desolation. The lumber became the infrastructure beneath, then the fuel inside British locomotives. British trains moved vast quantities of grain, along with other goods and workers and colonial administrators, and connected the interior of the subcontinent to ocean trade networks. Under the well-worn technologies of imperial taxation, the British made it harder for poorer peasants to stay on the land, and easier for rich ones to pay their debts by growing commodities for the UK. Just as in the first British colony, Ireland, where food exports continued through the Great Potato Famine, grain exports from India were maintained even when pandemic hunger struck. In 1901, the Lancet estimated that between 1890 and 1900 alone, famine and hunger-related disease caused 19 million deaths in India. Many in India's first government, following independence from the British in 1947, had suffered the devastation of famine directly. The traumatic memory of the 1943 Bengal famine, which killed between 2 and 3 million people, informed the post-independence public distribution system, a network of government-run food outlets. The drive to provide cheap food to the cities took a particular turn in the late 1960s when the Green Revolution hit India, sponsored enthusiastically by the United States and embraced at first reluctantly and then wholeheartedly by the Indian government. The program supplied seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides and subsidies, provided funding for irrigation projects and put in place policies to shore up the land holdings of richer peasants. The green in Green Revolution was a political color. William Gowan, the administrator of the US Agency for International Development, coined the term and made clear that it wasn't like the Red Revolution of the Soviets, nor is it a white revolution like that of the Shah of Iran. The intervention was designed to stop resident workers in South Asia from becoming communists by appealing to their bellies with cheap food. If feeding urban proletarians meant that small farmers and landless workers were rendered irrelevant, and if the program demanded the planting of 2 crops to the exclusion of all else, so be it. The result was that India's crop diversity fell, and levels of rural hunger remain apocalyptic even today. From a polyglot diversity of life on the land, Punjabi soil has been reduced to a stuttering bilingualism. Rice in the monsoon kharif season, wheat in the winter rabi season. For India's so-called agricultural miracle to work, massive amounts of water had to be pumped from the ground. In 1950, 28% of India's agriculture was irrigated. By 2010, 61% was. Today, as a consequence, 91% of people in South Asia experience water shortages. Facing steadily declining groundwater levels, farmers dug wells so deep that they needed powerful electrical pumps to bring the water up. In Punjab, the heart of the Green Revolution, the state government provided free electricity, generated by burning fossil fuels, to farmers so that they could power their irrigation systems. Currently, 70% more Punjabi groundwater is pumped out of the ground than the monsoon and Himalayan snowmelt recharges every year. The water evaporates or is taken up by plant roots, leaving behind dissolved salts and other chemical inputs that contaminate water and soil. At the beginning of the 21st century, the government of Punjab found itself suffering an ecological catastrophe with rising rates of farmer distress and suicide and few options. It was politically impossible to rescind the grant of free electricity to pump water, so instead, the Punjabi state government changed the seasons. One of the most water-intensive parts of rice cultivation involves the transplanting of seedlings. A 2009 law was introduced to prevent transplanting before June 10th. Farmers could then water their transplants with July's monsoon rain rather than the pumped groundwater. But a late transplanting means a late harvest. June-planted rice can be gathered only in October. Winter wheat must be in the ground in November. Farmers need to clear fields in a hurry. So every year, during the final weeks of October, across 10 million hectares, 25 million acres in northern India, an area the size of Kentucky, thousands of fires are set to burn off the rice stubble. This is when Delhi's air pollution, already bad because of seasonal dust, industrial pollution and vehicle emissions, becomes cataclysmic.
Okay, thank you for listening. Sorry, it should. How do I?
By examining a death by fire.
इसको pause यहाँ से करना है, I think. Okay. No, it's not.
One of the 1.67
Sorry.
million people who died of after diagnosis by examining a death
जी?
by fire.
बस मेरी 1 मिनट रह गया. इसको stop कर दो.
After diagnosis by examining.
I'm just about to finish my last slide. So for medical students, whenever you come across a mentor who's taught you well, please continue the legacy on. I don't know, your presentation hi ho gayi hai. So, but anyway, Dr. Kamruddin Villani was one of such mentors that I had. And he would ask us this question: what am I doing here? And I put this question forward to you all. What are you doing in this role? Why did you choose this career, you know? And your role right now is more significant than anything. You will be the front face of the environmentalist, of the environmental lawyer, advocate, everyone, because that sick patient is going to be looking up to you. So not only are you going to write a prescription, but you're going to create awareness. You're going to do that research much needed in terms of smog and air pollution, so we can help out our community, local community here, you know, in Pakistan, and not just rely on research which is done abroad. And lastly, you know, I would like to just say that hope is never lost. We know that famous novel by Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities, where he begins by saying, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Best times come out of the worst times. And I have a lot of hope in all our younger generation right here. Thank you very much.
I would now request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, Professor Mahmood Ayaz, to please come and say 2 words. Sir, please.
Can be possibly you can do that. It's like since yesterday we are busy in so many things, and we have got about 7 parallel sessions running. Professionally, you know that I'm a surgeon, so I have to deliver my own lectures. So that is what I did yesterday, and that is what I did today as well. And as a Vice Chancellor, I had to make sure that everything is running smoothly, and these 7 parallel sessions will be coming from all over. But I had my session here in the morning, I came down and sat here for a while. But I thought that अभी हम जो बाकी जितना हम बात कर रहे हैं सारी की सारी, that is hardcore science हम बात कर रहे हैं. Because I am professional robotic surgeon, तो हम उसके बारे में सारी बातें कर रहे थे. उसके बाद में बड़ी बातें और बड़े साइंस और बड़ी साइंस. But I thought that I have to come back. मुझे यहाँ पे वापस आना है. This is a different session, absolutely different session. तो मैं चाहता था कि मैं यहाँ पे ज़रूर आऊँ, इसके कंक्लूडिंग सेशन में ज़रूर शामिल हूँ, because I heard few of you talking about environment, and I thought that this is a topic worth listening to. और बड़ी ख़ास थी कि मैं यहीं पे बैठा रहता, but कुछ प्रोफेशनल मजबूरी थी कि
Honorable chairs and our panelists, sir, if you could please give them shields. So the chairs, please, if you could join us. Sir, we wanted to use this opportunity, and after that we'll have our Q&A session. So over to you.
मैडम आप मैडम I would like to request our first presenter, Mr. Ahmed Rafi Alam, to please collect his certificates and shield from our Vice Chancellor. Now I would request Mr. Ahmed Adwana Saab to please collect his certificates and his shield from the Vice Chancellor. Now I would request Ms. Mariam Shah to please collect her shield and certificates. Now we request Dr. Rabia Kesser to please come on the stage for receiving certificate. Now we request our head of department, Dr. Enal Momna, to please receive her certificate from the Vice Chancellor. And we request our Vice Chancellor to please present the certificate to our Chair, Dr. Athar Saeed Saab. And a certificate for Dean of Public Health, Professor Harun Hamid Saab. Now I would request our panelists to please, after the certificate, come on the stage, and we'll have a very brief question and answer session. We would limit it to one question for each panelist. A shield for Dr. Fateh Shatata. Thank you. I would request our panelists to please come on the stage, and we'll have a very brief question and answer session. We would request one question for each panel.
Firstly, is there any hope? And secondly, if there is a hope, then what really gives you that very hope that Pakistan can reclaim her right to a clean air?
Thank you for this very important question. The first thing I would like to say is there's always hope. Okay, so that's one thing that we always have to hold on to. Positivity and hope. If you don't have those, then you have nothing, right? So for clean air as well, we have other nations' examples. There's China, there's Mexico, there's Colombia, there's many other countries and cities around the world that have faced air pollution. London, you know, the smog crisis in London in the 50s. So all of these regions, these places have faced this issue to a very dire extent, and they have all done things to come out of it, because this is something that's non-negotiable. As Professor Ayaz said, it's the basic thing that you need to exist, right? So अगर साफ हवा नहीं है, अगर हमारे पास हवा, अगर हमें ऑक्सीजन नहीं मिल रहा, तो हम तो we cease to exist. So what happened last year was something, like I said, that made everybody sit up and take notice, because it was something that a problem so large that it could not be ignored any further, as it had been over the many years where we had normalized it and we were going about our daily activities like nothing was really that wrong, right? So last year was a good wake-up call for all of us. And you've seen the concerted efforts that the government has made. Where you don't have a choice, everywhere you go, you can see these things, which is great as well, because the people need to feel that the government cares about them, that they're doing something about them, and that clean air is a priority for them, something that we did not feel or see all of these years. So yes, hope is very much there. Work is being done. Work is being done by the government. Work is being done by private organizations. Work is being done by universities by hosting such events, and all of us are now really kind of gearing towards that. So for me, I mean, all I see is hope right now. Thank you.
The refineries will take billions of dollars and years. Moving to renewables will take years. The Rana Saab's program of getting electric vehicles and buybacks will take years. Fixing the crop burning will take years. All of these things have to be done over 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years of time, consistently, all of them, before you're going to get a 15-20% improvement in air quality. So you have to manage your goals. I also want to say that I also am optimistic, like Mariam. My presentation was based on my years of experience and what I've seen. What I see now is a mobilization that I haven't before. The level of interest and commitment, and that was my point, that you need to have civil society voice pushing these politicians to make these policy decisions over time before it will actually be successful. And one last point, Dr. Your presentation is fantastic. People want to get into the historical structures of why we're here. You had an excerpt on the wheat, but it was the British who introduced rice to Punjab in large scale. Before that, hum bajra khate the. And that coincides with the first malaria epidemic in Punjab.
I'm Janani Shade, I'm a scholar, and I have a question to Dr. First of all, thank you so much for being here. It's very inspiring to see you guys, so we can also work towards it. And my question is to Dr. what has Punjab learned from global clean air successes, like, the London was very bad, but now Beijing and all of these places, and how adaptable are these models to our socio-economic realities?
Thank you, and thank you for making me a doctor. We always listens from global practices, but unless you know the real cause of the issue, those practices cannot be calibrated. We have seen elsewhere, we have, as Ryan has mentioned, that there have been transformations in China and Mexico and Latin America. But everybody has a different context. And what Dr. Rabia said takes me to a very different category, that where it all started. He tried to look at it as a perspective that is just 50, 40 years old, but if you look at this, if you bring this dimension to it, it changes it altogether. But having said that, coming back to your question, the word, we have to have a very coordinated activity, because we think we are moving towards that, and we want to see this kind of climate action within the society. That is an amazing thing. This is, I think, the fourth or fifth such gathering within the last 1 month or so. This is what is going to build pressure. This is what is going to build reaction or action actually by the citizens and the government. And solutions are multifaceted. We have started with multifaceted approach, and I'm optimistic the rest of the people will go on. And I think impossible is a word giving it wrong, because I am possible. So hopefully, inshallah, we will reach there.
So is there a question for Dr. Rabia?
So this is Amna Iman, and I'm a fourth-year medical student. Thank you so much, guys, for this insightful session. And that's for all the 4 finalists. Pakistan contributes to just 1% of the global pollution, right? So what we can actually do to claim for the compensation for the effects that we are, in the form of the glaciers that are melting and a lot of environmental hazards that we are facing just because of the environmental pollution that's caused by our neighbors. So what we can do on the global level to claim our compensation for that?
To answer your question, you have to understand the power that you have as a physician, okay, medical student and physician. And I'm not talking about power with arrogance, okay, please, not that. I'm talking about that healing aspect that you have. ठीक है, जब आप रोज सेहतमंद होकर सेहतमंद तरीके से हॉस्पिटल आ रहे हैं और आप मरीज नहीं हैं, कुछ ऐसे लोग होते हैं जो रोज अस्पताल आते हैं लेकिन वो मरीज होते हैं, आपका और उनका पर्सपेक्टिव बहुत फर्क है और आपकी तरफ पेशेंट देख रहा होता है जब आप पहुंचते हैं. So that is, God has gifted you with a lot of power, healing power, and with great power comes great responsibility. Okay? So obviously this environment, we own this as physicians. Number one, we can form a physician for a body and a pressure group. Advocate kar sakte hain. We can be a part of. We can reach the government out. Sit down with them, talk to them, and see कि healthcare aspect से क्या-क्या policies urgent हैं जो हमें करनी है अभी, and then long-term basis पे क्या है. India already has this body of physicians with champions in different cities as well. We're trying to do something like that, but obviously we need so much more work on it. Like Doctors for Clean Air, an association. We can form something like that. और उससे ज़्यादा important है research. I think हमारे पास local data की इतनी dearth है, हम ये नहीं समझ सकते ये PM 2.5 या London smog या Beijing में जो effects थे क्या वो वैसे ही हमें हमारी population पे हो रहे हैं? No, we have a different DNA, okay? So obviously things will affect us differently. So we have to expand our mind and energies and give more into epidemiological research. शुरू करें, but हमारे पास numbers नहीं हैं. So we need to start gathering numbers. So research. And number 3, awareness. In my clinic, when patients come, I have created a, and this is just a small effort from my end. हम सब बना सकते हैं information, 1-page document, smog awareness. और उसके लिए लिखा हुआ these are the timings when you should not be going out. Put your mask on at this time. अपने बच्चों के साथ ये करें, plants, indoor plants लगाएं, all of these things. अपनी गाड़ी की monitoring कराएं 6 monthly, yearly, whatever, जो भी points हैं. And just hand that out. उसकी उर्दू में translation मुझे करवानी है. कोई करेगा मेरे लिए यहाँ पे? Okay, good. All right. So we need to start. पंजाबी में translation करवानी है. या कोई आप लोग इतने इनोवेटिव हैं, मे बी ऑनलाइन हम कुछ इस तरह की वीडियोस प्रोड्यूस कर सकते हैं. तो लोकल हमारी जो पॉपुलेशन है उसके लिए अवेयरनेस क्रिएट करना बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है, बहुत ज़रूरी है. अभी तो अवेयरनेस ही नहीं आई उस तरह से जिस तरह से आनी चाहिए. तो आपका तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा रोल है. सो रोल अप योर स्लीव्स एंड गेट रेडी.
Thank you, Rabia. I wanted to conclude our session here, but we have the official student photographer who wants to ask a question, and we don't want anyone messing with our photographs. So I wouldn't want to take that chance. Please go.
My name is Shratani. I am a fourth year MBA student. The most attention-grabbing sentence that I heard today was when Mr. Rafi said that the smog guns are actually leading to acid rains. Because I was very fascinated that the government has done such a great thing in order to combat it. But now, regarding to that, I heard a government official say in a podcast that we are integrating AI technology with those smoke guns. So I want to know why is there such a big difference between the government and the actual research. And my second question is, regarding to that, are the air humidifiers and the air purifiers also useless, or should we use them?
The air purifiers are absolutely necessary. The dramatic difference you get in a room quality. This room will take 3 or 4 or 5, but the AQI could be down to 30, 25 easily within half an hour, very much so. Look, I don't want to be put into a binary with Rana Saab, who I've heard only great things about the project he's doing is fantastic. Government is not one single entity, okay? But what I've seen over the course of years is it's the same thing, because this has been misunderstood as a Lahore smog seasonal issue. And I know I have friends and colleagues in the Environment Protection Agency. In 2017, 18, 19, 20, it was a joke that they would firefight for a month and a half in December, then pray for rain. और बारिश होती थी, they thank God and then continue with their work. That's how things went. So there is still an element of that practice still in parts of government which want to show that they are doing something rather than being inactive. And one great way of showing you can do something is arresting farmers for crop burning. When in fact people in SUVs, diesel SUVs are probably emitting, you go and shut down a couple of brick kilns, when in fact the coal-fired power plant people are actually producing more pollution. But you can say to the people asking you questions, we made 450 arrests and shut down 50 brick kilns. It sounds like action. But the only real action is based on results. When you can say that we arrested this many people and it resulted in cleaner air, which has never been the case. So you have to discern between ye dikhave ke liye log cheezein jo karte hain to show that they're showing to do something, and then substantive stuff that's based on evidence and
Just another last questions from our professor of pathology, Dr. Sajjad.
Our question is to Mr. Rajwana sir, that what is the policy of the government regarding asking the private schools and the other official organizations to have their own buses for the students and for the staff because in one of the slides you are showing that 5 vehicles are run every day from each home. It will reduce drastically, significantly burden on the roads. If you compare them, all the schools at the High Court that also directed how to implement for the school buses and the official buses. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, sir. Briefly, आप अभी जो बात राफे साहब ने की वो यही है कि अगर आप कनेक्शन जो है वो compelling it through this policy way to it will be directed to something else. Intention ठीक होगी. I think when it comes to this buses और ये सब पे इकट्ठे जाना चाहे स्कूल हो यूनिवर्सिटी हो कॉलेज हो ये कलेक्टिव विल पे डिपेंड है और साथ ही इंडिविजुअल विल पे. आप ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ले आती हैं आप बट मुझे ये लगता है कि ये जल्द हो जाएगा. उसकी वजह ये है कि अभी हम लाहौर और पंजाब की हद तक स्पेसिफिकली लाहौर में क्योंकि लाहौर का देखा हूँ देयर इज अ ट्रस्ट ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन प्लान दैट इज अंडर डेवलपमेंट और उसमें एक ये अभी डिस्कशन हुई है बट इट इज नॉट समथिंग कंप्लीट. बट उस तरह से कि जो यूनिवर्सिटीज और कॉलेजेस का फ्लीट है अगर वो बदला जाए ईवीज के साथ और आप तजुर्बे रूट्स हैं वो बन जाए ताकि आपकी जो मोबिलिटी है जो अर्बन मोबिलिटी सिर्फ इस पर नहीं है कि आपने एक रूट पे बचना है. अर्बन मोबिलिटी हैज टू हैव दिस रूट प्लानिंग अक्रॉस द सिटी so that you do not find a reason to take your own vehicle to reach somewhere. Then it is a behavioral aspect to it. As a people we do not like to walk. हम सबको चाहिए कि हम दुकान के सामने गाड़ी घर के सामने फ्लैट चीज के सामने हमें वहाँ उतरना है. बाहर जाते हैं पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट लेते हैं if it is a mile 2 किलोमीटर ये तो बड़ी खुशी से चल रहे हैं. जहाँ पे अगर आप लोग बस उतारे कि पीछे नीला नंबर के पास वहाँ से चलते हैं जहाँ तक आना तो नहीं. But this is just how we are. But I hope कि ये चीज़ जो आपकी suggestion है this is a very interesting point. I'll go back and talk to the transport department and ask them what are their plans and how they're implementing it. But I'm sure they're doing something about it as a larger thing.
Thank you so much. With this, I would formally close the session today. And again, thank you to the panelists and our honorable chairs and our vice who's taken such keen interest and stayed probably the longest in any session I can take. I can say that probably is the longest he's actually sat in any session during these 2 days of conference was at this session. That this shows his commitment and King Edward's commitment towards this issue. And we hope to see our panelists more often, and I would request the audience to put their hands together to thank our panelists. And especially Ridwana Saab, who single-handedly is holding the fort on behalf of the government. Thank you. And we request you all to please proceed to Maqbool Hall for another exciting session there. And our panelists, if you could join us for tea, please. Thank you.
Thank you.